So Link is a ministry of Flower City Outreach. Flower City Outreach is an overarching ministry in the organization. It's got pillar ministries that many of you are familiar with. Weekend Edition, that's full-blown at Browncroft, and Flower City Work Camp. Many of you have heard of that too. And so years ago, our executive director at Flower City Outreach, who will remain nameless. So he challenged board members, if there's any passion that you feel passionate about creating another ministry, what would that be? And so I enjoy parenting and grandparenting. It's one of my greatest things to do in life. And when I heard some of these statistics, it was time to get off the couch. And so prayed on it, and as Mike mentioned, I was on the board at Calvary with Matt, and we are friends. And so, what's going on in your life? Oh, I'm on this Flower City Outreach board, and what are you doing? We're doing this, and then I didn't even know that Matt had previously served. And so that's kind of the incubus of how we got off the ground. And then we met Pastor Warren. And so I'm going to invite the two of them to speak a little bit about their experience and their roles tonight, but also want to cast a little vision on how we're doing and what we're doing. So mentors have, we want to partner mentors who are faith-filled men. Mike, can you hand this out from here? I should have asked you to do that before. And partner them with mentees. And we're going to make no excuse that the love of Jesus is going to be shared and shown during these relationships. Men will be fully vetted, fully background checked, and fully trained. I'll be honest, we've worked a real long time on our training program, and I'm grateful for all the volunteers that have put in hours and hours and hours. This is just a little flow chart to get an idea of, as you step through, whether you're a mentor or a mentee, the process of coming into Link. Hopefully that's simple and self-explanatory, but I thought it would be useful to kind of show you what our vision is. So what makes this really unique too is getting the word out and what we see for the vision for that. Having the relationships with 55, 58 churches from Flower City Work Camp. We're going to use those relationships as we roll out, like phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 was this weekend as we addressed the men at Calvary. And what did that look like?
Good morning, church. If you're a father, or if you have a father, I want to wish you a happy Father's Day. That's a wonderful thing to celebrate. Unfortunately for many, especially those who don't have fathers, today could be a painful day. And 3 out of 4 kids in Rochester live in fatherless homes. 3 out of 4. That is a plague that is just devastating our city. As a church, we're called to serve our community and to help others, and I'm so glad to announce today, here at Calvary, we are launching a brand new ministry called Link, which is going to address the problem. And we're going to be matching, equipping, and raising up godly men from our church and matching them in one-on-one mentoring relationships with boys in our city who are in desperate need for a positive male influence in their life. So we're calling out, if you're a man out there, if you are interested in mentoring, if you're a woman, we also have great opportunities for you in this ministry as well. If you want to help children, if you want to serve our community, I ask you, you can contact myself or Gary Hayden's. You can go to our website, which is linkmentorship.org, or better yet, you can have a conversation with Gary and me today in the lobby after church. We'd love to talk to you and tell you about this ministry. It's a great way as a church for us to celebrate dads today on Father's Day. So thank you.
Were you nervous?
Yeah. It's not my thing. It's not my thing
Here's
at all.
Matt, the announcement, and Matt, so cool stuff. And then after, service, this is what it looked like after service. So I mentioned the Flower City Work Camp Ending Relationships. We want to get off the ground with folks, go through a training program, work out any kinks. We're always going to be in learning mode. And then we hope to take the show on the road and get with the relationships that we have in all those churches and do the same thing in the churches in the city. And just get as many godly men as we can. Equip them, train them. And if you have a heart like me, I get overwhelmed with the thought of what potentially could happen here. If there's 57 churches and we get just 5 or 10 from each one, now we can really start making a difference. And so that's the goal. It's pretty simple to explain. It's big brother, big sister, but it's just big brother, and our big brother's Jesus in this relationship. So that's who we are, and that's what we're hoping for. Matt, can you share a little bit? Mike mentioned that Matt has just started his mentor role with a mentee, and he can explain a little bit, and then I want to ask Pastor Warren to say a little bit about as our youth coordinator.
Yeah, just real quick, I've got a 13-year-old, and we started, it's been about 3 weeks now since we first met, and we've been on a couple outings, simple stuff. First time we went out, we threw the football around, just getting to know each other. We had some ice cream. The next week we went out and we hit golf balls, which he'd never played golf before, never been on a golf course, so that was kind of, I think, eye-opening, I guess, for him, and he had a great time. Loved it. Popped out of the car. He's like, are we getting together next week? So I knew, okay, things are going pretty well, And tomorrow we're going to go to the jazz festival. So we're just at that stage, getting together, getting to know each other. I mentored before. It's a tough job. It's like being a parent, sort of, in a way. You pour into it, but you can't fix somebody. You just hope you kind of round out the edges, maybe, and just put a little direction in their life, put a voice in their head at a crucial time, something like that. You just pray that God's going to handle it. And that's all we're trying to do, is to try to do something. And if we can get some guys to join us from our church, if we can put together this program, we can take it on the road to 55 other churches. The math gets really good if you think about it. 55 times 2 guys, times 5 guys, times 10 guys. You're talking about some things that can happen in the city. So I want Pastor Warren to talk about the community.
I'll preface before Pastor starts. So the mentor side we recognize is kind of the challenging side. The mentees are plenty. And so we're really fortunate enough, it's just a God thing, that we got to meet each other a few years ago. And so when Pastor caught the vision, he said, oh my gosh, I'm talking to moms and grandmothers and aunts every day who are asking me for help. So as we build up mentors, guess where the mentees are going to come from? For probably a fair amount of time. So you have the floor, my friend.
Great. So interesting enough is that when I met these 2 guys, their passion and the information that they were spilling out caused for me to be kind of like thinking about life, and I also had to reflect and think about myself. So looking at myself, some of these statistics I fell into. Also, my mother being a single mother, there was no doubt that we were going to suffer from some of these statistics. I have 3 brothers. It's 3 of us, and 2 of my brothers were murdered in the streets of Rochester. And this has a lot to do with their anger, their cry, and they really wanted somebody to be there for us, to attend a game, to say, hey, good job, to come to a class and all that stuff. So we didn't have that growing up. So when I heard these guys' story and I took what they were saying, I was like, wow, this was me. And I was like, so how can we help? And then what bothered me the most was that I'm a pastor, and I have all these mothers coming up to me regularly talking about, can you? And I'm like, I'm only one man. I can't take on all these kids. And, can you come to the court date? Can you write a letter to the judge? Can you can you just talk to my son? And I'm trying hard, but I realize that I'm only one man and I got 4 kids myself. So I can only but do so much. And, just kind of just touching real fast. And I know I don't want to be long-winded, and just please let me know, just shut up. I will. But just touching on the story, that was the match that it was another child, but I felt like that match was important. And I have seen in a matter of a short period of time, his energy and everything, his brain is just stretching a little bit, right? And I felt that was a good match because he was a child that we didn't have to lose. When I was sitting down and I was talking, me and Gary was sharing some information, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, or today. I was talking all year, right? But, so I was talking to the mayor of Rochester, and he was able to narrow down the troublemakers in the city of Rochester. And he said, it's not every black person that's out here, acting crazy. And for some reason, I don't know, even being black, I thought that maybe it was, right? And that's not true. It's not mathematically possible. He says about 300 solid people that are out here acting a fool and terrorizing the streets, and they're responsible for most of the crime that's in Rochester. And, this is why it's good to always bounce stuff over with people. And I was talking with Gary, and Gary was like, you know what? We can't necessarily save them because at some point, at some age of teenage, it's too late. It really is that there's an act from God that needs to come in. And I'm not saying they're unsavable, but they're already in the streets. So unless you got something, unless you got, you ready to give out of your pocket, it's tough to grab them. But Gary said, listen, why can't we find out who those people are and target their brothers and, and not necessarily sisters, but eventually one day, but why can't we target their siblings? And there it is, another light bulb, boom, went off. And I was like, wow, that's so true. Because what's going to happen is that it's a trickle-down effect. Mm-hmm. When I first made my first mistake and went off into the streets, my brothers followed. It's a trickle-down effect. So I realized that to be true. So my job is really to match these children with men and try and get them to have men that can, I'm not saying be their father, but be a mentor. Listen to them. I'm talking such a drastic turnaround in a short period of time. I can't wait so we can show measurable results because there's things that have been said and I'm hearing them come out from this mentee, and he's excited about the future, even for himself. So when we get men that actively want to be involved, and no, it's not easy. Nothing's easy in life, but when God calls you and he tells you, hey, you were fortunate. You had a dad. Hey, you're there with your children. I only need 8 hours out of a month. And as little as 5. I just need you to give up 5 hours a month of your time to go speak into someone's life. And it's going to cost you a little gas. It may even cost you a cheeseburger. But guess what? You're going to be blessed because you're going to impact somebody's life and you can be life-changing. And you may say to yourself, like, man, I'm white. I don't know what to say to a black kid. You don't have to say anything to a black kid. Be who you are because he's white. He's white as white going to get. And he has a black kid that's black as black going to get. But guess what? This kid is talking about golf. This kid is talking about jazz. This kid is talking about stuff. And he just keeps rambling. I was talking to him today, and he recognized his grades got to go up. And I'm like, man, he's super excited. I can't even get him to talk most of the time. So I leave you with that because who would have thought, like, in 3 weeks, he would break some ground, right? And he may not even know the magnitude of how much ground he broke. But God will be there with you every step of the way. And I'm not just talking to you, man. I'm talking to the guys that are in here. Because we will find you youth. One thing he said that is 100% true. We can find youth all day. All day. And that will be my job. Also, and I know you said, what happens if we get a bunch of guys and we run out? I wanted to let you know, as a pastor and as a person who's involved in the ministry, I will visit all these other churches because every pastor, every last one of them are struggling with the same things. The black church is made up of almost 70 to 80% women. That's what we see on Sunday. Right now, when I was talking Father's Day, my church, there's approximately 50 to 60 women. There's less than 10 fathers in that church. So I would love to talk to you guys about taking on a mentee.